38 seconds of Universal jacking off to itself. Back to the Future 3 knew that you'd spend over an hour in the box office line only to discover that Firebirds was sold out. And in case that happened, the movie wastes time showing you what happened in the previous Back to the Future movies. Or if Back to the Future 3 just happened to be your first Back to the Future experience 6 months after the last one came out. The Atomic Kid is in fact a movie. However, it was released in December of 1954. And yeah, movies had fewer prints, so they had to travel, and they were in theaters longer back then. But there's no way they were showing The Atomic Kid almost a year later when they could be showing 1955 hits like Lady and the Tramp or Mr. Roberts. I still don't know why the original Doc Brown scream couldn't be used. Maybe Robert Zemeckis hated that scream and wanted a better one for the 2 sequels. But to anyone who knows the first Back to the Future inside and out, this new scream is like ear scabies. A full minute of credits over a real estate listing. Also, 1990 still seems way too modern to be seeing ZZ Top with a featured song in a movie.
Hey kids, what time is it?
1955 alarm clocks.
Calm down, okay? Just calm down. It's me, it's Marty.
No!
This is a very small moment, but it's so good. Marty's trying to explain what happened, Doc's disbelief, and the accidental organ accompaniment. Take us in off, you creative bastard.
It actually flew.
Yeah, we had a hover conversion done in the early 21st century.
Wow, look who's taking partial credit for the DeLorean's ability to fly. What's this wee anyway, Marty?
I actually end up as a blacksmith in the Old West.
Pretty heavy, huh?
You know, heavy. That's a word I've been known to say. I delivered that line with no self-awareness at all.
And please take care of Einstein for me.
Isn't this letter just future information that 1955 Doc Brown from the original movie said he didn't want to know? Marty doesn't have a choice, but you would think Doc would fight him on reading the letter at least for a few minutes before giving in.
Einstein!
He's your dog, Doc. Einstein. It's what you call your dog in 1985.
It's all right, Copernicus.
Man, you guys went a long way to set up whatever you were trying to set up with this dog named Copernicus. I guess 1955 Doc thinks it's hack to call your dog something too obvious? I don't know. This is one of those scenes that come off super weird in the sequels.
It was when I was 11 that I first read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And then I realized that I must devote my life to science.
Movie inspires Michael Crichton's book Sphere, which of course led to the movie Sphere, and you, movie, for making me remember that exists.
My initials! Just so I can journey to the center of the earth!
And why wasn't that written out in the letter? Seems like the exact hiding place would have been a good thing to include.
Under this circuit fail, it says made in Japan.
That's racist.
What's wrong? What's wrong, Copernicus? Come on.
Oh, you. Did Doc teach Copernicus how to read? This dog has more intuition than when Einstein knew to freak out about an approaching van a mile away in the first movie. Also, a good thing they decided to make this tombstone super descriptive so Marty knows exactly who killed Doc in the past.
Doc! Doc! Come here! Quick!
The news that you've been dead for 70 years cannot wait 1 minute longer. Although the filmmakers never intended for anyone to read the articles on this newspaper, they severely underestimated the boredom of people in 2020. This is one of those pre-processed articles that dominated movies for years that talk about some sort of economic plan in vague, uninformative ways and have nothing to do with the headlines.
Buford Tannen was a notorious gunman.
Look, Thomas F. Wilson is great and has provided the first 2 movies in this franchise with a fun antagonist. But the idea that a Tannen from 1885 would also be involved in the lives of Doc and Marty is ridiculous. I think everyone would have been fine with the movie having a new villain this go-round. We've been perfectly fine without Crispin Glover.
Do you have any relatives here back then?
The Browns didn't come to Hill Valley until 1908, and then they were the Von Brauns.
I'm pretty sure that the Emmett Brown on the tombstone is the one and only Emmett Brown. But even if it wasn't, why does the Brown on the tombstone have to be a relative? Brown name is pretty common. Just because Doc's immediate family wasn't in Hill Valley doesn't mean some other Brown family wasn't there.
Great Scott, it's me!
God damn it, did Doc say Great Scott as much in the first movie as he does in this one? Or is it just more annoying now?
Clint Eastwood never wore anything like this.
Clint who?
That's right. You haven't heard of him yet.
The movie is a dick to Revenge of the Creature.
Okay, I think we're about ready. I put gas in the tank. Your future clothes apart.
Why are they in a rush? They do realize that unlike the situation with the clock tower, they don't need to rush, right? 1885 isn't going anywhere. Don't be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, movie.
I wrote the letter on September 1st, so we'll send you back the very next day.
But why not send him back on the 1st or 2 weeks earlier? Doc has been there for a few months before he writes the letter, so why give themselves such a short timetable to work with? I know they wanted to do this in the middle of nowhere so that when Marty went back to 1885, the chances of running into anyone would be low. But why did they have to do this inside a drive-in? They could have done this anywhere near here on a road late at night with no traffic, instead of finding a drive-in that just happens to have the perfect length for getting a DeLorean up to 88 miles an hour. Gotta hand it to these Native Americans, man. None of them even flinched that a machine like this has appeared out of nowhere right in front of them. It's like they were expecting it.
The cave!
Of convenience.
The cavalry!
But at least some of them had to have seen Marty. Not one person stops and finds out who the f he is and what he's doing out there. This arrow was in no way lodged in the DeLorean before Marty backed it up into the cave. And not one of the Indians shot an arrow at the car when Marty was driving away from them. Marty is going to outrun a bear here, and somebody didn't do their research.
Maggie! Fetch some water, we got a herdsman here!
You mean Marty just fell right into the old McFly property a mere minutes after arriving in 1885? And before some of you start saying, well, that's the reason why they picked the drive-in, because they knew it was so close to the old McFly home. Remember, Marty was worried that it would take too long to walk to Hill Valley from here, so neither he nor Doc had any idea this is where the old McFly place was.
Mom, is that you?
God damn it. This! Why do we have to keep churning out the same familiar moments? And how many times is Marty gonna think he's awakened from some strange dream after all the stuff he's already been through? Okay, so is it just the slightest bit disconcerting that Maggie McFly looks so much like Lorraine Baines? I know they have to figure out a way to put Leah Thompson in this movie, but maybe not in such a way that the McFly-Baines family tree doesn't fork at all?
Eastwood? Clint Eastwood? It's almost as if he's connected to us.
Do these assholes really not see the similarity between Marty and Seamus? At least acknowledge it. I know you don't know that Marty is your great-great-grandson and time travel is possible or whatever, but damn!
And you peed on me.
Now that Marty's been peed on and he's stepped in a pile of horse this movie can officially start. I don't care what happens now, I've gotten my money's worth. The way these movies are, I'm surprised it's not one of Lou's relatives from the cafe behind this bar, played by the guy who played Lou.
You ain't Seamus McFly.
Yeah, Seamus McFly has a mustache. No way he cut that off. He also has different hair color, but the no mustache part is what really gives it away. Also, the Back to the Future movies are teaching us that bullying is genetic, as is unoriginality.
You're Mad Dog Tannen.
Is he just now getting that? Can no one tell almost twin-like resemblance of people they're acquainted with in this movie? Also, Mad Dog gets the whole spittoon dumped on him and somehow doesn't throw up. As an usher who had to clean up a sold-out auditorium for the Luke Perry film 8 Seconds, I can tell you that Mad Dog's restraint is impossible. Marty runs out of a drinking establishment pursued by a Tannen, and I'm going to add 100 sins for the constant f***ing repeats. Marty McFly went to the Prometheus School of Running Away from Things, which is disappointing, considering how many times he changed directions the last 2 times this happened. Surely he doesn't need a skateboard for every escape.
September 7th! That's this Monday! Now I wish I'd paid him off!
But you still could, right? Or at least give it a shot? It's a better option than just waiting around and hoping for the best.
I thought maybe she was a girlfriend of yours.
Marty, my involvement in such a social relationship here in 1885 could result in a disruption of the space-time continuum.
Your mere presence does that. Like, if you really cared about this shit, you'd have found a cave and stayed there. But you're like running a business in Hill Valley and interacting with people on the daily.
I don't know, Doc!
This franchise is 67% Marty yelling over the sound of loud noises. So why did Doc have clothes that were in Marty's size? Maybe I don't want to know.
It's the fusion powers, the time circuits, and the flux capacitor. But the internal combustion engine runs on ordinary gasoline. It always has.
Weird that you never mentioned that before. In the first movie, when Marty asked you if it ran on gasoline, you told him that you needed plutonium, suggesting that the plutonium actually replaced gasoline for the car's fuel. When Mr. Fusion came along, you famously said, "I need fuel," and threw a bunch of garbage into it. Every context clue about the fuel of that car has shied away from gasoline until now.
24!
This is no use, Marty! He's the fastest horse in the world! Won't run more than 35, 40 miles an hour!
Then why did you even bother trying this?
Bartender says that's the strongest stuff they got.
Try it, Marty.
I get that the horses could have dragged the DeLorean back to town, but how in the hell did they get in Doc's barn without anyone in town seeing it? Just gonna yada yada over that shit, I guess?
It'll take me a month to rebuild it.
Doc, you're gonna get shot on Monday!
Why is that necessarily so? Why can't you rebuild the car somewhere else, hiding away from Mad Dog? He doesn't need to know where you are, right? What's weird about this movie is they look at certain events as inevitable, like it's the lightning strike at the clock tower. You can prevent this. Whoa, when did Marty become an expert at riding horses? He's riding this one like a pro, like he's been doing it for years. Also, what are the chances that Clara's wagon just happened to be riding past this out-of-the-way spot near this ravine at this very moment?
Clayton Ravine was named after a teacher. They say she fell in there 100 years ago.
Yeah, but why was the ravine renamed after her? Clara's a brand new school teacher with absolutely no history with the people in Hill Valley. Seems weird they discover her body and think, let's call this something else in her honor. This stranger did so much for us.
That she was supposed to go over in that wagon. And now I may have seriously altered history.
It's It's kind of crazy that you didn't realize that when you volunteered to meet her at the train station before Marty showed up. Any interaction you have could alter history, not just huge life or death ones.
According to my calculations, we'll reach 88 miles per hour just before we hit the edge of the ravine.
But it looks like there's a little bit more straight track behind the DeLorean, so why not back it up a bit so you're not cutting it so close? Do time machines also need dramatic timing to work? Pretty sure even in 1885, ZZ Top was dated.
Where'd you learn to shoot like that?
7-Eleven.
Glad to see the 90s movies following the 80s movie tradition of if you're good at something in video games, then you could do it in real life.
You gentlemen will have to check your firearms if you want to join in on the festivities.
However, if you want, you can buy a Colt revolver inside this festival for $12 if you start feeling weird without your gun.
Have fun!
Great, but don't Buford's men have to turn their weapons over as well? Because I'm pretty sure only Buford actually did that.
Maintain discipline at all times. Remember that word, discipline.
I wonder how excited the marshal would be to learn that all his teachings led to a future line of public school principals.
Last time I used it, fella, took 2 whole days to die.
Movie thinks we'll be fooled that Doc will be shot on any day before September 7th, so that confrontations like this will seem meaningful.
What's wrong, dude? You yellow!
I don't have anything to say about Marty's trigger words, chicken and yellow, only to say that I hate that they made this part of Marty's character.
We'll finish this tomorrow!
Tomorrow we're robbing the Pine City stage.
And I guess when that happens, nobody here is going to say anything? Why would you openly admit this? Don't tell me it's just because they're dumb. That's a lazy excuse.
You could have just walked away and nobody would have thought the less of you for it.
Why the does Seamus care? Yeah, he thought he felt a connection with Marty, but he let him spend the night in the barn for one night and then took him into town the next day. Ironically, there's no relationship here. Whether Marty gets into a duel with Mad Dog or not doesn't affect these McFlys at all.
Sure, and I hope you're considering the future, Mr. Eastwood.
Have I made a comment about these awful Scottish accents yet? Wait, they're supposed to be Irish? That's even worse.
You've read Jules Verne.
I adore Jules Verne.
So do I.
You know what they say, nothing make those panties drop quicker than a few well-timed Jules Verne quotes.
Great Scott.
I know, this is heavy.
What happens to us in the future? Do we become assholes or something? I know we were told that the train wouldn't come through till Monday morning, but what if it comes through at an earlier time? Or a different train comes through this track that wasn't scheduled? What if some 1885 hobo wanders onto the DeLorean and starts stripping it down? They're leaving a lot to chance here is all I'm saying. Because if anything happens to this car, they are royally f***ed.
What are you gonna say to her? I gotta go back to the future?
Audience reactions to Back to the Future 2 somehow make it into this script.
I don't know, maybe we can just take Clara with us.
I caution you about disrupting the continuum for your own personal benefit.
The very fact that Clara is alive is problematic to the continuum. It's actually better for you to take her to 1985 because then she can't change anything that's already happened.
How far does the 8 o'clock train go?
Way to make Clara a part of the finale movie. She's so distraught over Doc f***ing Brown that she's ready to drop her school teaching job after only a couple of days.
10 minutes. Why do we have to cut these things so damn close?
Marty would be futuristic at CinemaSins.
Well, something inside me told me I should be here. As if my future had something to do with it.
It doesn't.
Everybody everywhere will say Clint Eastwood is the biggest yellow belly in the West.
So that's how Rick Dalton got all those roles in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I've never seen a man so broken up over a woman.
It was so remarkable, I really felt the need to loudly talk about it on this train. There was nothing more upsetting and memorable than a man's broken heart. I had to leave town immediately. It's a good thing Buford didn't shoot Marty in the face, because what would Marty have done then? I guess die, but seriously, this plan was pretty shitty. All of this is just pale imitation. When George punches Biff in the first movie, it's a man standing up to someone who's been a bully to him and will be all his life if he doesn't stand up to him. When Marty does it here, it's Marty beats Biff, part 72 of a series. Add to that another of the Tannen clan getting manure poured all over him again. There was a time the third movie was considered the best sequel, but this one left out the real stakes that drove the action in the first two.
You're under arrest for robbing the Pine City stage.
Jesus, why wasn't anyone there to prevent that? They admitted they were going to do that.
Look!
Oh wow, they changed history to the point that the cemetery itself isn't even in business anymore.
Range!
Considering that they're going to hold up a train, why the f*** did Marty give Seamus his gun? How the f*** did she know they'd be anywhere near here? Did she just ride around hoping to find them and luck out?
Input the destination time! October 27th, 1985, 11 a.m.
Why would you go back to the future at 11 a.m. on active train tracks? Why wouldn't you do this at like 3 a.m. so that you better avoid the possibility of a train hitting you when you get back to 1985? 11 a.m.? Is Doc trying to kill Marty? That would be the best murder ever. I mean, Jesus, who is this woman? She's a school teacher, but she's got badass horse riding skills and can chase down a train to boot. She has the arm strength to hold on to the train when it gets a sudden burst of speed. That's the power of love, man. Huey Lewis would be proud.
We just passed 45, Doc, go for it!
Why does Marty continue to talk into the walkie-talkie even though Doc is not holding his where he can hear it? Also, we will find out in a minute that Doc still does have the walkie-talkie, but where the f*** is he keeping it? This works. Well, that's exciting. You can barely see the coffee machine in the back of the studio while they film this green screen shot. Wait, did Doc Brown or Clara tell everybody that Clint Eastwood died in the ravine? Because there was no body, right? Look, you can tell me the train is this close to the car, but you can't tell me that Marty got the DeLorean's awkward wing door open in time to get out before the train hits it.
You got fired.
I get that Jennifer's confused about whether she had a dream or an actual experience, but I'm more confused about where the driver's seat headrest came from, since there clearly wasn't one when Marty got into the truck back at his house. Oh, I get it. He turned the other cheek. He didn't race. But did he have to do this? This is pretty dangerous too, right? This is the incident that apparently sets Marty's life in a tailspin in Back to the Future 2. Rolls-Royce guy probably wins the case because Marty and Needles were drag racing, and that's clearly wrong. But Rolls-Royce guy is a dick. Why the did he drive into traffic like that? Are there stop signs in Hilldale? I don't think there are, actually. It's chaos! Wouldn't this entire fax, paper and all, disappear? Also, what happens when someone removes themselves from a time period to go to another one? In Back to the Future 2, 2015 Biff says he remembers when he saw the DeLorean fly off and disappear at the end of the first movie. But Marty disappeared with it and was no longer in 1985. Yet there was still a middle-aged Marty living his life in 2015. The Einstein experiment in the first movie proves there was no Einstein for a full minute. So who was that middle-aged Marty? The only Marty that it could be is the one that experienced both Back to the Future 2 and Back to the Future 3. The one that finally gets to drive his truck with Jennifer like he planned to do since the end of the first movie. But the Marty that experienced Back to the Future 3 is the one that doesn't get into drag racing competitions with the bass player from Red Hot Chili Peppers. So how does the Back to the Future 2 middle-aged Marty exist?
You're right, there's not much left.
I can see the authorities were super curious about the DeLorean that got smoked by a train about an hour ago. They put their top men on it. Are they even going to clean this up for the next train? This is going to be Doc Brown and his new time travel train, but how the f*** did he get all the railroad crossing shit to power up? Also, Doc figured out how to make a time travel machine out of a train, which may be the most dangerous goddamn vehicle to time travel in. Not a lot of mobility on a train if you re-enter someplace where another train is headed your way, but Mr. Glass will be pleased when the inevitable crash happens. Also, I guess it's a good thing that Marty took Jennifer back to the train tracks at this exact moment.
After all, I had to come back for Einstein!
Wait, when did you get Einstein? Didn't you just come back? Did you already show up here once, get Einstein, go somewhere other than 1985, then come back again? What the f***?
It means your future hasn't been written yet! No one's has!
Except that they could travel to the future in this train time machine and see that it has indeed been written. Maybe not the way it's been revised, but it's still been written. If this train flies, then why the f*** did he re-enter on a train track? Did he know Marty would be here at this precise moment? Just what the f*** is the ending of this movie? Also, I guess there's no reason to keep this flying time travel train a secret, huh? When Marty arrived earlier, there were tons of people around this railroad crossing, but now, ghost town.
We got ourselves a new courthouse! Hot time we had a hanging!
Make sure you click that bell icon.
Sellouts.
But clicking the little bell icon is how you make sure you get notified every time we release a video. So click it.
Sellouts.
I'll have, ice water.
Hey, look, mister. We save hard drinks in here for men who want to get drunk fast, and we don't need any characters around to give the joint atmosphere. Is that clear?
What's your name, dude?
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Let's finish it right now.
We can't keep him past 4.
I will keep you here until 4.
Marty, the future isn't written.
The future's not set. There's no fate but what we make for ourselves.
I understand, because you know I'm partial to the writings of Jules Verne.
Are you making some kind of list or something?
No.
Did you call up my friends and ask them what I like and what I don't like?
No.
Is this what love is for you?
You thought wrong, dude.
Your gunfighter's dead. Old news.
All I want is to fight on the top of a train! Is that too much to ask?
Just a hold up!
I'll be taking these Huggies and, whatever cash you got.
Clara! I'm out here!